We've just seen the footage of the strike that reportedly killed Iran's top leader. But what actually happened here? Let's break it down. Israel has released a video showing the exact moment of the attack. It targets a compound where multiple senior Iranian leaders were gathered right at the same time. And what you're about to see is not random. This is a precision strike. Watch closely. There are two main buildings in the frame. Within seconds, multiple explosions hit, almost perfectly timed. The first blast, it hits right at the base of one building. That's important, because that kind of strike is designed to collapse the entire structure. Then, another explosion. This one lands in the central area, like a courtyard, and it doesn't stop there. More strikes follow, one after another. In total, you're looking at around 6 to 7 separate hits, maybe even more. This wasn't a single missile. This was coordinated. Now, what weapons were used? That's still unclear. It could have been cruise missiles, something like Tomahawk-style systems, or Israel's own precision-guided weapons, like Spice or other advanced missile systems. There's also a possibility of bunker-buster-type warheads, designed to penetrate deep before exploding. But here's what stands out the most: accuracy. Every strike hits a specific point. Nothing looks wasted. Nothing looks accidental. 2 buildings completely destroyed, and all of it happens in just moments. This wasn't just an attack. It was calculated, deliberate, and executed with extreme precision. The kind of operation that raises a much bigger question. What happens next? There's something interesting about this footage. It didn't come from the US. It came from Israel. And that raises a big question. Who actually carried out this strike? Yes, the US and Israel often work closely together, but when Israel is the one releasing the video, it strongly suggests they may have played the leading role, or even carried out the attack themselves. Now look at who was inside that compound. This wasn't just one target. We're talking about some of the most powerful figures in Iran. The chief of the armed forces, the head of the IRGC, senior military leadership, top advisors close to the leadership, all in one place at the same time. That doesn't happen by accident. That takes intelligence, deep, precise, real-time intelligence, the kind only a handful of countries in the world can pull off, and clearly, Israel is one of them. Now let's talk about the weapons. There are multiple possibilities. Israel has a range of advanced systems: cruise missiles, air-launched ballistic missiles, precision-guided munitions. Some are supersonic, some are designed for deep penetration. Names like Spice or Rocks often come up in discussions like this. But here's the thing. Militaries almost never reveal exactly what they used. That kind of information stays classified. At first, there was speculation that these might have been Tomahawk cruise missiles, typically used by the United States. But Israel doesn't usually operate Tomahawks. So now the theory is shifting. Maybe US forces were hitting other targets. And this specific strike? Possibly Israeli, but until there's official confirmation, we're still piecing it together. What we do know is this wasn't random. This was planned, coordinated, and executed with stunning precision. Which leads to the bigger question. If this level of coordination is possible, what else is already in motion? There's still a lot we don't know, and some of the answers may come later, especially from satellite images. In fact, reports suggest that outlets like the New York Times have already looked at before and after images of the site. Think about that for a second. Pre-strike, the strike itself, and then the aftermath. Once the dust settles, those images can reveal just how much damage was actually done. And from what we've seen so far, it's massive. Now, let's talk about that 11-second clip released by Israel, just 11 seconds. But it might be one of the most important pieces of footage yet. It appears to be shot from a drone, daylight, real time, not infrared. You can actually see color in the background. Right in the center, 2 compounds, both getting hit almost simultaneously. And here's what stands out. This is not a single strike. Look closely and you'll notice multiple impact points. At least 6, maybe more. That tells us something critical. This was a coordinated salvo attack. multiple weapons hitting at once, not seconds apart, but nearly at the same time. Now, what exactly were those weapons? Cruise missiles, air-launched precision bombs? From this footage alone, it's impossible to say, but the coordination, that's undeniable. Also important, this video has been carefully selected, edited, released with a specific message. According to Israel, this was the dismantling of the headquarters of the Iranian regime. That's a strong claim. But here's the catch. There's still no official confirmation that this exact strike is the one that killed the top leadership. However, if this really was the main headquarters, then it's very likely this is where that decisive blow happened. And remember, this is the first time we're seeing footage like this from this operation, which means one thing: this isn't just about showing what happened, it's about sending a message, a very clear one. And now the question becomes, why release this right now? Let's break this down. We only have 11 seconds of footage, but even in those 11 seconds, there's a lot happening. First, look at the precision, multiple hits, perfect timing, specific targets. That tells us this wasn't random bombing. This was carefully planned. Now, what kind of weapons could do this? Israel likely used its most advanced aircraft, like the F-35 Ayadir and the F-15 Strike Eagle. These jets are built for exactly this kind of mission: deep strikes, high accuracy, minimal detection. But the bigger question is the weapons themselves. Some early speculation pointed to Tomahawk cruise missile, a weapon typically used by the United States. Here's the problem: Israel doesn't normally use Tomahawks, so if those were involved, it could suggest US participation, but there are other possibilities. For example, bunker buster bombs like the GBU-28. These are designed to penetrate deep into structures before exploding, perfect for hardened targets. Then there's the JDAM, a system that turns regular bombs into precision-guided weapons. Simple idea, devastating results. And when you combine these with advanced aircraft, you get strikes like this. Now here's something most people miss: the footage itself. This wasn't random either. It was likely captured by high-altitude surveillance drones like the Hermes 900. These drones stay in the air, watching everything in real time. They help guide the strikes, adjust targets, and immediately assess damage. In other words, they make sure nothing is left to chance. And that explains why we're even seeing this footage, because Israel prioritizes something very specific: eyes on the target, during the strike, and after it. Which brings us to a bigger question: why did Israel release this footage, but the US didn't? If both countries were involved, why is only one showing the world what happened? That detail might seem small, but in operations like this, nothing is sluchai. This kind of strike doesn't happen without serious coordination. We're likely looking at shared intelligence between the US and Israel, both sides bringing something to the table. On one hand, the US has massive regional presence, naval battle groups, surveillance systems, and global intelligence networks. On the other hand, Israel has one of the most effective intelligence agencies in the world, Mossad. Now imagine those two working together: target confirmation, real-time tracking, human intelligence on the ground, all of it combined to answer one critical question: who is inside that building at that exact moment? Because timing here is everything. This wasn't just about hitting a location, it was about hitting it when the right people were inside. And that level of precision, that takes deep coordination. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Even if this was an Israeli-led operation, the weapons might still be American. Think about it. Aircraft like the F-35 Lightning II and F-15 Eagle, both originally developed in the United States, are part of Israel's arsenal. The same goes for certain types of bunker buster bombs and precision-guided munitions. So you get this overlap: Israeli execution, American technology, shared intelligence, all working together, which makes it harder to answer the simplest question: who actually pulled the trigger? Was it Israeli pilots, American forces, or a combination of both? At this point, we don't know, but we probably will soon. because operations like this don't stay in the shadows forever. And when the full picture comes out, it could reveal just how deep this cooperation really goes.